Well, here we are. We're heading into the final stretch here of the preseason. The last game is tonight. I suppose the pivotal question for many would be, can Caleb Williams keep it going? We saw him for the first time against the Bills. He looked pretty good. Looked like Ben Johnson had a pretty good feel for what to do with him. It was a great performance by the Bears. Does it last against Kansas City?
Well, you hope so, but we're going to be dealing with a small sample size when we get to the end of the runway here, right? I mean, what was it, 13, 14 snaps against the Bills reserves? Maybe it's something in that ballpark tonight. You know, I don't know why people keep asking how long they're going to play, because they don't give you an answer, and they don't give you an answer because they're probably not going to tell the players beforehand, hey, this is what you're going to do. You know, they want them to prep like they're going to go out and play a full ball game. Everyone knows that's not going to happen. But, yeah, you want to see a crisp operation. You want to see some completions. You want to see some plays that are in rhythm and on time. And they want to get out of this game healthy, right? That's the number one thing tonight. Get out of the game healthy so they can get into personnel meetings beginning tomorrow at Hallis Hall, start going over how they want to shape this thing and not have the complication of any last-minute injuries to players that they project playing a significant role in the regular season.
Brad, there was a cool moment in Hard Knocks this week. The Buffalo Bills, and they caught Deion Dawkins, the offensive tackle, sharing a moment and giving advice to Austin Booker, encouraging him and telling him that he's different and he's unlike other guys. And really, I thought it was very cool to do. So 2 questions. Number one, how healthy is Austin Booker? And if he is healthy, how much progress did he make this camp in terms of getting into the mix as a rotational pass rusher?
Yeah, I wish I could give you an update on his health status. I can tell you he was not seen at practice on Wednesday. I haven't been given any indications that there's fear that this is something serious, but your guess is as good as mine. At this point, Austin Booker's had himself a nice training camp and a nice preseason, and I think he's got something to build on. He had a nice preseason a year ago, and then it sort of fizzled in the regular season when he had, a sack and a half. I think he played about 280 snaps or so during the regular season. You know, if he's the player we saw here in preseason, I think you're looking at a number that's closer to 500 in terms of snaps. I think you're comfortable with the 3-man rotation, which will be great because then you're comfortable with your top 2 guys getting the kind of rest that'll allow them to be at full strength in the fourth quarter of ball games, that'll allow them to be more rested in the final month of the regular season. But Booker has gotten better. He looks a little more refined. He was, super raw last year as a guy who hadn't played a ton of college football. He's still very young, so that would be a real development for Dennis Allen in that defense if he's healthy and ready to take on a bigger role. Who knows? Maybe it taps the brakes on some of the trades for Micah Parsons chatter, guys.
Brad, we have not seen a lot of the offense, as you mentioned earlier, but we've barely seen the defense. I mean, there are units on that defense that have not been able to play. I'm thinking of the secondary, the cornerback position in particular. What do you expect to learn, if anything, out of this game?
I don't think we're going to learn a whole heck of a lot tonight. You have your eyes open, pay attention. Maybe you will catch something, but that's got to be one of the things that Ben Johnson keeps in the back of his mind for that defense tonight. Because if you watch practice on Wednesday, they're down like 4 starters, right? And that doesn't count Booker, who's your third defensive end should be playing a good number of snaps. I mean, that figure's got to approach 40% at the minimum. So, yeah, that's a bit of a concern. Kyler Gordon returned to practice Wednesday, just did individual drills, so he should be on pace for week 1. They've given all indications Jalen Johnson should be ready for week 1, but you want to get the work in, understanding you've got a 2-week layoff before week 1, but it's all about health right now, guys, and availability and what your roster looks like, and you don't want certain position groups limping into week 1 of the regular season.
Brett, how confident are you? How confident are the Bears that Darnell Wright is a player on that offensive line that's ready to remove the doubt in year 3 when, if you're a high pick like he is in your 3rd season, there shouldn't be many questions about how good you are. Is he as good as you think he should be?
I think Darnell Wright, it's a matter of consistency. And I think I've talked with you guys about this, in previous years, and talking to, one evaluator that did an awful lot of work on him when he was coming out of Tennessee and was surprised that the Bears drafted him 10th overall. He said, with a lot of players, when you talk about consistency, it can be week to week, right? It was good last Sunday. It didn't meet the standard this Sunday, that type of thing. With Wright, guys, it can be play to play in terms of the consistency, and that was a factor during his rookie season. It was a factor last season when he was out there, and then obviously Dan Rochar's identified that, and looking at some of his comments about Darnell and where he's at, like the ceiling is high there. Okay, like I think you look at the ceiling and you're like, yeah, this guy can validate being the 10th pick in the draft. The floor needs to be pushed up a little. He needs to get on the elevator and move that thing up a couple floors. So the consistency is there, play to play, drive to drive, quarter to quarter, and ultimately week to week.
Bears training camp coverage on The Score is presented by Chevy Drive Chicago and the number 1 draft pick, Chevy Silverado, the official truck partner of the Chicago Bears. Brad, is this idea of last chance to make the roster a bit oversold? In other words, we always talk about how young players can capture the attention of other teams with a good performance, but this idea that the 53-man roster spots are won and lost in a final preseason game seems crazy.
Yeah, there's very little that's won or lost in the final preseason game, guys, because the evaluation process has been really daily since the spring. These guys have been evaluated for a mighty long time, and so it's on TV. It's more important than a practice, but it ultimately, I think it is what it is. Although I thought when you guys had Ryan Poles on last week, he had some interesting comments. One of them being that he felt like, I think the figures he used were like 57 or 58 players that they felt like they were really going to like. So, if you're down to 3 guys, 4 guys for the final spot, and you're sort of looking at how they did, that final preseason game is going to matter a little bit, right? But don't get caught up in performances too much, guys. In the preseason finale, which was also at Arrowhead last summer, undrafted rookie free agent cornerback Reddy Stewart, who had a nice spring, a nice training camp, had 2 interceptions he had a pick six, and it was a couple days later he was on waivers, right? So, I don't know how much more an undrafted free agent corner can do in the preseason finale than 2 picks and a pick six, but Reddy Stewart did it, and he got released. So I guess that's a decent way to remind people that a guy could have a big game tonight and maybe still be ticketed for the practice squad.
Or to remind people that the Bears make some personnel mistakes, because that could have been one. It's not like they were had locked solid, airtight secondary, Brad.
Well, they ended up having him on the practice. They kept him around on the practice squad. It's the final preseason game.
All right, how about Ian Wheeler? If Ian Wheeler has a big game tonight, does he have what shot of making the roster?
That's the one position that's a little puzzling right now, because you've got DeAndre Swift, right, who's their clear number one running back, and then everyone else is either injured, they lack any NFL experience, they're brand new to the roster, or they check multiple boxes in those categories. Wheeler, I think it's going to be tough. I kind of like how that Britton Brown guy ran a little bit last week in the game. I'd have concerns about Wheeler and pass protection. I don't think Kyle Monungai's injury that has had him out, I believe the last time we saw him was the joint practice with Buffalo. I don't think that's anything that's going to be too concerning, so he could be back sooner rather than later. But, Travis Homer has a calf injury. Roshan Johnson's been out since, I want to say, August 7th with a foot, guys. So you've got, some new people and inexperienced people right now that are in the mix. We'll have to see. He's got a great story. The rehab he put in to come back from the torn ACL, which he suffered at Kansas City last summer, it's a credit to him.
Brad, is there value in playing a road game, in getting your starters out there, getting the players acclimated to being on the road? The head coach, this is his first road game as a head coach. I mean, do you see value in that, just working on your routine, or is that already well known and already been figured out?
I think maybe there's a minor value for your rookies and your new players, but a veteran like Montez Sweat,
sure,
Cole Kmet, those guys know where they need to be and when they need to get there. Ben Johnson talked about it earlier in the week, but the value is that the season ticket holders don't have to pay for 3 preseason games; they only have to pay for 2.
Brad, true or false? Tyson Bagent is the best backup quarterback in the NFC North.
Oh boy, I don't know, Dave. You want to. He's done really well for himself. We've got the bias of being here, watching him throughout all of practice and seeing what he can do. He's got the ability to challenge for a starting job at some point in the National Football League. I think what's most important here is the Bears are comfortable with him if they need to turn in that direction. And I think with Ben Johnson here, they are going, whatever the max is for Tyson Bagent, I think they're going to have a much improved chance of getting that out of him. He's really connected with Ben Johnson. But yeah, I hate to cop out, but
that sounds like false.
You'd have to give me this
Malik Willis,
a day before.
Kyle Allen, Sam Howell, Brett Rippon.
Sam Howell.
I'll take the Bagency.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Howell has the capability of getting on a heater, but he can also go out there and throw 3 picks and a half. So, it's something no team wants to go to the backup quarterback, right?
No. And the more important question is, where does Caleb fit in the division, right? I mean, I think Goff obviously is probably the most accomplished quarterback. Jordan Love has had a couple of injuries. I wonder where they're at with him and how you feel about him. Obviously, when you're changing quarterbacks again in Minnesota, they drafted the kid highly. Local guy made good, J.J. McCarthy. But if the better Caleb can get in that conversation is the most important part of the Bears' future.
Yeah, and Love, Love wasn't as good last season as he was in 2023 for the Packers, and he was playing through a couple different. Remember, he had that really ugly injury. Wasn't that game in Brazil maybe, or I don't remember where it was. It was at the very beginning of the season. And he's had a thumb or a hand injury here in camp.
Yeah, got a finger
one thing
operated on.
One thing that I heard them talk about earlier in the summer that made a lot of sense to me, because he can move around pretty well, right? Like, I mean, he's not going to look like some of the top running quarterbacks in the league by any stretch, but I want to say he ran for about 250 yards that first season as a starter in 2023. And the rushing totals were way down last year. And you want to keep him healthy, but I mean, that can be a weapon too, and he can make throws in the passing game on the move too. So if healthy, and if they can be smart about it, can he be a little bit more dangerous moving around more this season? Because if he can return to that 2023 form, I mean, the Packers have got a good chance to challenge him for the division here.
So are you going to be on Taylor Swift watch, or is that something that's not interesting to you?
I got my hands. I haven't even left yet. Usually I get there the day before. It's all business the next 24 hours, my friend.
That's business. That'd be part of the story, right? No,
that's not. I'm sticking to football here, Dave.
All right.
I've got a. My interests aren't quite as broad as yours.
I'm just trying to help you out, man.
Who's the best tight end in this game?
Oh, well, I mean, one of them who probably won't play is going to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And the Bears, you know what, though? The Bears have got two really good ones, and they got them involved in the passing game right away last week. That's something you want to see on a week-in and week-out basis. They did not utilize the tight end in the passing offense last year, and that's going to be mandatory this year. You've got a highly paid one. You've got a guy that was drafted 10th overall. You've got to lean on them, not use them. You got to lean on them in your offensive game plan.
Brad, David informs me that Tyson Bagent will be throwing out the first pitch Sunday at the Sox game. You might want to get out to that.
Well, I'm sure there's plenty of tickets available, guys.
Oh, wow. Wow.
All right,
the
buddy.
Top rope.
Thank you.
Safe travels, Brad.
Have a great weekend, guys.
All right, you too.
Have a great one. That is our guy, Brad Biggs. He is the football man of the Chicago Tribune.